Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Artcast. Welcome to another Workcast. Because I'm back out here trying to finish the rest of the yard. Today's art subject is Eli the Cartoon Hero. I got commissioned to do a piece of this particular video personality. I had to stop myself because, aside from doing very, very good work, this Eli does not operate on YouTube. I think you can find some of his clips on YouTube, but he has chosen actually to make his home on Vimeo, which is, good for him. Ballsy, gutsy. We all complain about YouTube. It's all got problems, but at the current moment, their options are very limited. But he has chosen to, actually stick to his guns and do something about it. So good on him. So yeah, go check him out. Just type in the cartoon hero. Put in Eli. Eli the cartoon hero. He doesn't go by that, but it'll help you get to him faster. He's got a Patreon. I'll put a link in there. Maybe I'll use one of those new fancy boxes in the corner that'll show up now. Yeah, I'll see if I can do that. I should point out that head tool. I call it the head tool. It's really just a circle tool. I found a way to make custom brushes in Paint Tool Seiya, and with that I was able to make extensively a character measurement. You're supposed to measure your characters by the lengths of their heads. Good rule of thumb. So I found a way to just make a circle tool, which I've basically just been begging and praying. I started this idea last video, but I need to follow up on it. Is that Paint Tool Seiya? Again, I love it because it's a very simple program. The stabilizer is amazing. It's like the best stabilizer for early artists who are working with not the best tablets that they could be, honestly. And it's just really intuitive, really nice. And they have been improving it. And by they, I don't know who they are. It might be a team, it might be just one guy in Japan. Because it's operating out of a website. It's $50 a pop for a license, which is not bad. And it's lean. It's very lean because the programming. I don't know what they're. I don't know. They put effort into it definitely, but updates are few and far between. Clip Studio is the one that's making a run for it to outpace Adobe with all their premium membership crap. But it was not easy to figure out how to get that tool into Seiya. You have to open up a folder in the your main program. You have to have a certain very, very specific kind of graphic. I had to get into just regular paint that came with the computer, and I had to go in and I had to save it as a what was it, a GIF, 128 GIF, or there's a bunch of different options. You have to completely grayscale it, which I had to do in another program in order to get it into the thing. It's just, I fully admit, Clip Studio has say a beat when it comes to customization. If you just want to draw something, if you just want to work in line art, Say is the best. Or Saya, whichever one it is. But I got to start getting into Clip Studio, if just for the different brush options. Speaking of which, there has been sort of a big splash this past week about a pin. There is a Twitter account. I think it's called the Clip Studio Artist or something. Maybe I'll throw in a link of that too. But they have created a very, very unique pen that allows you to pretty much just draw in 3D shapes, either in front of other shapes or behind other shapes. And it's great for visualizing the outline of different figures and how they overlap in space. It's amazing. And I'm going to probably just get into Clip Studio just to take a look at that pen. Even if I use that just in Clip Studio and then throw that image back into Paint Tool Saya, which I was actually known for doing when I was... Clip Studio has a bunch of amazing features, including models, which I actually find incredibly limited in comparison to Blender, which is a free program, completely free. And you can do a lot more customization with your different figures, and I mean, I've gone over that before. I've gone over how the snake video. Remind me to make another clip to that, where I modeled basically the whole character and then tried to paint over that. Ooh, I might as well talk about that too. Blender's got just dropped a new update. Blender 2.8? Now it must be 8.2 or 8.3, I forget which. But it's got a lot more intuitive layouts. It's got a bunch of new features, including sculpting and modeling. I think it's got a new tool that allows you to sculpt something and then move it, which was like actually create pivot points in which to move things, which would actually be a huge boon. I tried. I looked into it as soon as it updated, as soon as 0.8 came out, and it was good. I still had to like really figure out how to get around the interface. They completely changed it. They seem to simplify things, but I was so used to just kind of hitting command keys. Command keys are for the Mac, aren't they? Hotkeys. And just getting around that. But if they fix that pivot tool, that sculpting tool, then I'm gonna have to get back into that and see what I can do with this. His Eli's gimmick, well, not gimmick. One of his outfits. His outfit is he wraps a towel around his neck, which is sort of emblematic of young childhood heroes. I specifically, God, I'm just having this huge flashback now of, remember Tiny Toons? And they did like whole episodes based on Elmira's family, which is actually like a backdoor pilot for the Elmira show. Because I guess people just really, really liked Elmira. Which I guess eventually became the Elmira, the Pinky, and the Brain show. Or Elmira, Pinky, and the Brain. Or was it Pinky, Elmira, and the Brain? God, that's actually that show... a little bit better than it had any right to be, and I think that's because they had an awareness. They literally said in the theme song, and this was sort of like at the end of all those original, like all the, the Looney Tunes kind of tenure at Warner Brothers. They were moving. I think this was when Pokemon was getting really big, and they were starting to just change programming. But there's a part in the theme song that literally goes, we're mandated by corporate or something like that. And they literally like give a shrug. But I thought that that original episode with Elmira and her family was like just like legitimately funny. And I would actually had liked to have seen. They never brought back. They never incorporated the little brother, the mother, the father into Pinky, Elmira, and the Brain. Did they? That's a shame. As far as let's see, let's see. They had the father was actually an inventor. You know that old shtick, kind of like on Rugrats. But he wasn't a toy maker. He was like a legitimate inventor, and he invented some sort of like rocket serum or something. There was an explosion. I remember that. He was voiced by. God, he's on the tip of my tongue. Shit. Oh, you know that guy. He has that like really distinctive voice. I'm trying to think of his name. I'm trying to think of other things that he. You know, the first thing I'm thinking of. And this is going to sound really weird, but Lawnmower Man 2. He was the voice of Cat in the Hat for a while. He's a great character actor. He's amazing. With such a unique voice. Oh well, I have by now put up his picture, and name. And then you got her mother, which I think she was a real estate agent because of course. They lived in the suburbs, and I was just thinking about that. They lived in the suburbs, and of course, she sort of had a job that rotated around the suburbs because that was sort of the emergent women's workforce during the 80s and 90s. There was a little bit more push towards the nuclear family. Oh, pardon me, I gotta move. And, of course, spending more time with the family. I've been watching too much Renegade Cut. He just did an amazing eye-opening video about Rambo this past week. But let's see, anyway. And then, of course, he had the little brother who was like Ninja Boy or something. He tried to be a superhero. He actually was, kinda. He was like a little miniature Batman. Like most little brothers are obnoxious, but this guy was cool. He had like ladders and stuff, like rope pulleys, and he actually saved Elmira. I think what happened at that point, let's see, the father invented some sort of serum. Some bad corporation wanted the serum or the invention or to stifle it. I think that's because were they like environmental polluters? I don't know. The point is that Elmira got kidnapped and taken to a warehouse, and they were going to ransom Elmira, but of course Elmira bugs the hell out of the captors, and they end up just, turning themselves in. There was one guy who was a pyromaniac. I just remember how this was actually, you know what? Like a wildly inappropriate, not too wildly. Actually, no, I turned out fine watching it. But let's see, he was a pyromaniac, one of the henchmen, and which is a weird villain to have in you'd think a children's cartoon, but like I said, this was I think they got carte blanche to do whatever they wanted, because I think this was supposed to be like a prime time. They wanted this to compete with The Simpsons. But you know what was actually wildly inappropriate? That Elmira Madonna dance. That was a little too much. Which I suppose the message is that the kids are watching this, and they're imitating things that they should at least, I don't know, wait until they're seniors in high school to, try out. What the hell is a Vimo girl? My little niece. There's something called Vimo girls. And I'm not quite exactly sure what it is. I had to explain it to... I looked it up, and it looks like it's more or less like, hippie kind of flower child, but with like a sort of a techno vibe to it. But anyway, yeah, the wrap around his... the towel around his neck just reminded me. I just had like a huge mental flashback about all that. And the animation was amazing in that episode. There was a bike chase. That was fantastic. Oh yeah, that's right. I never had that talk. I was going to say, I've said all this before, but I haven't, or at least you guys haven't heard it because it's a Let's Play that I lost all the footage to. Well, actually, I didn't lose all the footage. It was just bad. I'm trying to figure out the best way to record Let's Plays. I'm trying to figure out the best way to record, and of course, I recorded the whole damn thing without actually checking in any of the footage, and it just kind of... there was no sound to it. I was recording on... I looked up a bunch of tutorials, and they say, hey, guess what? If you want to do this, you have to either do it in FLV or MKV? MKV, I think that's the thing. I was like, oh, great. I'll just record in one of those, because apparently if you lose power or those files, really, really hard to corrupt. So I set that up, and I do it. And I even look back at the footage, and it seems fine. It's skipped in one or two places during the whole, maybe 2-hour session. I was like, oh, okay, well, whatever. And then I tried to bring it into my... I try to pop it into my editing programs, and there's no sound to it. DaVinci Resolve will not recognize it at all, and Lightworks will import it, but with no sound. And so I'm like, okay, well then I'll just I'll find a way to rip the sound off of it, and then put it in the main file, because when I open it and listen to it, I hear it just fine. And then something happened to it while I was editing it, and then it just ended corrupted. I couldn't get the sound to be clear enough, no matter what converter I was using. It always turned out into a garbled mess. So I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna. And I was like, if I'm gonna do this in the future, I'm not gonna do this. And so I just kind of, in frustration, I used it as a learning moment, and in my frustration, I just kind of deleted it. Because it wasn't exactly gold. So yeah, I think I've figured out the proper settings. I think I'm going to use the same settings I use to when I record these Let's Draws, which is the MOV file, which it again has a risk of being corrupted if you lose power, but for some reason it never seems to happen. I've had drawing sessions when I've... Oh, by the way, OBS has a pause button now, which is fantastic. Just amazing. And it's just super helpful. And when I do that now, I've done drawing sessions that have taken up 3 hours. And they're just fine. They're absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with them. I haven't spoken or used any audio when I do it, but I think it'll be okay. I think Eli himself was kind of happy that I drew him with a larger physique. He says every time he gets fan art, that they always draw him like real skinny, which is flattering. But he is not. I mean, he's a big guy. So I think he was kind of happy to have that. But yeah, I'm just trying out different things. I will be. Let's see. What's today's agenda? I have to go. Let's see. We're gonna go pick up taxes. My mom and grandma go to the same tax guy, so I'm going to be going and picking up both their taxes. They have a tax man, but he's like kind of far out. So I picked that up. Grandma wants to get in to see her main doctor because that'll allow her to see another different doctor, and so we're going to be running around today. Just got to find a way to squeeze every little bit of zest out of life. You know what I mean? Let's see, what am I using here? Am I using soft shading? No, I'm just more or less using the hard. Oh, but all that ranting about the Let's Playing. I was going to say one of the points or talking points that I fell back on or revisited a lot was how I actually prefer Tiny Toons to Animaniacs in the long run. I know that, Tiny Toons, I mean, Animaniacs is literally like more its own thing because of the original characters and just the actual setting and how it's actually about the studio and not just a school like every other kids incarnation. They're like, okay, well, they're kids now. We have to set it in a school or we have to set it in a mall. What other, like, skate park? No. Yeah, well, they did that with Rocket Power, but, like, what other? It's like school, the neighborhood, the mall. And the only reason why I'm saying the mall is because of Yo Yogi, which I think either Hannah or Barbera hated. They called, I have to look up that quote. I think they called Yogi, he looks like a, I forget what word they said, but he hated the damn thing. It was like one of those old-timey words for like, I didn't like the jacket or the weird tie. Wait, no. I think he had like a pink tie. 80s colors. Even though like it aired around the 90s. But like I said, I think Tiny Toons just had a few more interesting. It was definitely way more contemporary. Maybe it's because Animaniacs was a little bit too modular, what with all the different segments and everything. Like they literally took segments out of one place and put it into another and swapped them all around, which was sort of like what they, the WB needed at that time. They needed something that they could have lots of reruns of. But they're like literally episodes on the DVDs with like the same segments over and over again. It's almost like a clip show, but not exactly. And then I remember Tiny Toons, and I'm thinking, well, some of the episodes, the animation was really bad. Like, really rough. Like, it's all over the place. And then some of them were, like, just beautiful. Like, all the TMS stuff. is fantastic. Also, it doesn't hurt that actually Babs is like one of my favorite cartoon characters ever. Oh, well, there he is. Look at him. Let me pause that real quick. Um, yeah, this didn't turn out that bad. I mean, I think I've gotten a little bit better at drawing hands. If I had to do that now, I would kind of erase the little the finger kind of extends into the palm a little too much. I would raise that up, define that a little better. Other than that, this came out pretty good. I like the black background. It really makes everything else pop. Well, anyway, guys, thank you for joining me again for another Artcast, Workcast, whatever these things are called. And I will see you later. Bye.